Former Director of Football Operations, Innovation, and Strategy for the XFL, Sam Schwartzstein, tweeted about how much time it would take to get players ready for a 2021 XFL season. Quote, at the XFL, this was in response to Pete Thamel's, here's a looming complicating factor in the Pac-12 return. Some of the schools haven't been lifting or working out in months. One source estimated 8 weeks needed for a safe ramp up. Quote, if it's not going to be COVID, our players are going to get injured another way. So Schwartzstein then responded, said, quote, at the XFL, we talked to medical professionals, trainers, strength coaches, and players, and deduced 6 weeks is the minimum amount of time to go couch to kickoff. 2 weeks conditioning plus walkthroughs, 1 week acclimating to hitting, 2.5 weeks training camp, 1 game week. Considering we know most of the XFL players have either been in the offseason with the NFL camps or staying in shape, some conditioning time may not be as long as expected for college practices. The Pac-10 especially, with the California teams, are not allowed to have full practices because of COVID guidelines. Considering we're already ready at the start of the season, this wouldn't apply to the XFL. So many fans are anticipating news and movement towards a 2021 season for the XFL, but one of the problems is we weren't sure how much time they would actually need to ramp up and start playing again. Well, according to Schwartzstein, he says it would take 6 weeks for those players to get ready. The XFL 2020 season kicked off 1 week after the NFL Super Bowl, which was held February 2nd. If the plan is to mirror that calendar, this year's Super Bowl is on February 7th, which means the 2021 season of the XFL wouldn't begin until at least November 13th at the least. Last year's XFL draft was held on October 15th, which is a month away from this time. That may be moved back, but if 6 weeks is what you need to get the players ready once they allocate it to the teams, we still have plenty of time to get a 2021 season plan to happen. There are things that do need to happen quickly, though. Coaches need to be called and found. Last year's players need to be contacted to see whether they want to play. Venue leases need to be finalized, etc. At this point, there are 4 that we know of that are very willing to house teams. Dallas, which people were saying, no, Dallas is in. LA, Houston, Tampa. Tampa recently filed an objection about their lease, and that just had to do with money, but they were definitely interested in wanting to do it again. If the league decides to play in one area of a bubble, like the NHL or NBA, then those leases might not even be a big deal. Last year's training camp was similar to a bubble, and XFL President Jeffrey Pollack, half-brother, is Gary Bettman, commissioner of the NHL. So the league is not unfamiliar with the concept. Clearly, these two guys could talk to each other. So it's in the middle of September. Team staff need to be hired, executive vendors. Many from last year would certainly return. Who knows if they even have a job again. Media personnel would need to be hired. The big question is the broadcasting rights and other operational issues. But we have until January, really, to get all this off, including a draft. So if you think about it, you wouldn't even need to have a draft until November if you really wanted to. 3.5 months should suffice. So we know the clock is running. We don't know what's going on, but we do know that there's stuff going on behind the scenes. So in our worry that, hey, we can't have an XFL season because, it's already mid-September, based on what Sam Schwartzstein said, we still have time to put this thing together.